All right, everybody, welcome back to the Plug In Podcast, where I'm your host, Quentin. And if you've been following me for a minute, Q. Check this out. We got a great guest here on today. As you know, this month is Mental Health Awareness Month. The month of May is Mental Health Awareness. And so, what I wanted to do is kick off this month and kick off my season 3 by diving deep into this mental health saga. As you know, this conversation is like way overdue. There's a few platforms out there that have been discussing it. And so, what we want to do is just kind of add in our opinions and our ideas around, you know, uh, a better way to help and create a more safe and preventative and supportive type of way for men to be able to keep their sanity. So, I brought on a good friend of mine, Andre Charlie. He's a licensed therapist. And we're going to just kind of like dive in and kind of get his thoughts around this mental health and how it affects us as men, and more importantly, too, as Black men as well. And so, seeing that we have some extra added layers of stress sometimes in our life, but we'll get to that when we as we talk with Andre. Let me go ahead and add him on in here. Hey, what's going on, Dre?
Hey, what's going on, sir?
Nothing much, man. First of all, I want to say thank you for joining me on my first episode of season 3, man.
All right.
Yeah, I've been off for a minute, basically doing some father things. I got my son off to college.
Oh yeah, congratulations, man.
Yes, yes. So he's in his ending up his second year. So I took kind of like 2 years off to make sure he was straight and able to actually, meet the standard of growing up, if you want to call it. And as I've been talking to him this year, man, I think he's got it. I think he's understanding the maturity that it takes to be out on your own. He has an apartment and all of that good stuff. So I'm excited to see where he heads off in life. But the one thing I am happy is that the maturity is there and I can see it.
That's good.
Me and him were just talking and laughing. He was like, "Dad, when you gonna get back to your podcasting?" And I'm like, "Hey." I'm like, it's time for dad to get back to it, but I told him, I said, I wanted to take some time to spend with you, so that we can make sure that mentally, right? Kind of like what we're talking about here. I wanted to make sure his mental health was in the right place, going into college and basically growing up on his own out there. He's in Tennessee, so 8 hours away, and like I said, he's doing a fantastic job. He has me and his mother and his sister fully supporting him. So,
Yes.
uh, but man, hey, like I said, thank you for coming on. I just want to kind of give a backdrop to my audience on just my absence, man, for the last couple of years. I apologize, but I don't. It was something that I personally wanted to do,
Right,
take
right.
care of some things with my son to make sure he was cool. So, but now it's about to get heavy, and we're about to kick it off here with Mr. Dre. So, go ahead, man. Tell the people a little bit about yourself before we dive into this.
All right. Thank you for having me on, man. And again, congratulations on being there to support your son. That's much needed and necessary. So salute to you.
Appreciate it.
I am Andre Charlie, mental health therapist with a private practice here in the Metro Detroit area, where I fully support men of color, and welcome women as well into my practice. So anyone that's seeking therapy, it's not just for men, but I do carry a predominantly large black male client caseload. I have an MSW from Eastern Michigan University in 2005. Received my bachelor's in social work as well in 1998 in Ashland University, and I've been doing various things in the community. I've worked at the higher ed level. I've worked in the criminal justice area at the Wayne County Jail, as well as community-based therapy and in-home therapy. So I've
Mhm.
had a little bit of experience in a lot of different areas over the years.
Excellent, man. Well, man, let's just kind of like just dive in it.
Yes,
What
sir.
is what has been really the biggest interest for you for men's health?
Just being able to understand that there's a place to hear them, to hear their voice, support them, and provide strategies, tips, tools for individuals to kind of take from me and then go on and to make it another week, another day, years to come based on what they have experienced in our sessions.
Oh, that's great, man. Okay, so we're gonna dive right on in. I got a host of questions, man, that we have to dive into, and I'm sure some of these, as I was reading through, man, we probably might have to do a separate podcast for some of these because they're so deep. But when you look at the challenges that men have, and then what are some of the common mental health challenges that men face, and then
Man,
how do they typically manifest differently than those by women,
all right, all right.
or those that
So,
are released by women.
man, some of the things that the challenges that I
Mhm,
see when men face will be the disparities when we talk about the ability to be able to secure a living wage, be able to have sustainable income for themselves, along their
mhm.
family, their wife, kids, girlfriend, be it whatever it is. There's a lot of challenges when it comes down to being able to have that. And it could be education level, it could be the fact that they were formerly incarcerated because we have a large population that have even got unfair and sentencing that maybe have been unjust and
Mhm.
may not have even been guilty. So you have a lot of that as well that I see men face. So we have to work through that. Um, Low self esteem and self worth, not being able to identify it as that, but it manifests. Well, we can talk about how it manifests in a minute. Um, Having their partner not understand them is a challenge as well because they have in their mind what a concept of a man should be. And a lot of women put on men what they believe a man should be. And that's also challenging a man's thought process based on what the unhealthy mainstream society has put on what a man is
Yeah.
also a part of that as well. So past traumas, childhood traumas coming through manifesting. Friend of the court is a big one, and the unfair injustice in that system.
Yeah.
Just not having the skill set to make it, not knowing what to do with the private thoughts, not knowing how to navigate emotions. So anger is usually the one that comes up the quickest and first.
Now, would you say that that would be something that's inherited through the environment they're in, or maybe the actual home that they grew up in, or a little bit of both?
So yeah, little bit of both because you can have it basically because we have our genetics, which is through the bloodline. Various behaviors are a part where we're predisposed, and then
Mhm.
you have the taught behaviors. So you have the nature and the nurture of it all, and you have a certain culture in which where you grow up things are taught and reinforced, so it can be coming across as more violent sometimes as well. So we have a variety of things that play into that statement.
Yeah, and this is one thing I do know too, man, since me and myself personally, I mentor, men as well, and so I'm, like, right there with you. I think it is a little bit of both where it's the home are a little, a little toxic, due to the fact that maybe a father may not be there or he may be there, but still is absent in the actual raising or making of the awareness of how much I put it like this, how much mental strength it takes to be a man. Um,
Yeah.
and I think that that is probably one of the biggest effects is that in today's society overall, when we're talking all races, we're talking about almost 70% of homes are growing up without a father. That's a big deal. And then let's not even narrow it down to, black and brown kids where that number is a little bit higher. we're talking like 72, 74% of black homes that are growing up without fathers, um, which basically adds more stress
Yes.
and anxiety to an already lopsided, way of living. Um, and I know that a lot of people talk about the two-parent home and the stability of it, but the thing is that there's truth and there's proof
Yeah.
that two-parent homes or a home with a solid father
Yeah.
who has the mental capacity to raise kids, that the product is put out better. Kids are
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, it's more balanced. You have a variety. You have both sides. You have the mother to be able to nurture certain things, and the father actually be able to nurture certain things. They don't like to say nurture when it comes to
Right,
men,
right,
but
right.
men have to nurture their sons, and they raise their sons, and moms are there as well. And it's a balance. It takes both. It's an energy inside of that father that's going to ignite something in that son that a mother would not be able to do. Not to say she would not raise a successful man and that
Yeah,
things would not turn out great. Is the balance of having both.
yeah. And that is, I think, is a big deal. I mean, I was raised by a single mom, and I don't even think I understood what I was missing until I became a father of my own son.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then you find out that, oh man, there's a lot, like you said, there's a lot of nurturing a man does. It sounds unmanly, so
yeah.
that's why we don't never really use that term because it doesn't
Right.
fit the masculinity, you
Mhm.
know, toughness or a tough guy, persona. But really, you're nurturing, you're creating atmospheres for people to be able to grow
Right.
in a healthy environment. And I think it does take two parents. Uh, but overall, if there's a father in there that actually has the mental capacity, it is shown that he could actually carry the weight of both because of just the impact that he has from that nurture and peace. I mean, hey, fellas, face it, we nurturers.
You
I know
can
it sounds wimpy, but we're our nurturers, man.
and you can look at it like you're molding, you're
Yeah,
influencing, you're
yeah,
shaping, you're guiding, you're doing all of that, which it comes down to nurture. You're taking care of, and yeah, it's what's needed. And like you said, you got to have the mental capacity because it's just as much as we can build up, we can tear down,
yep,
and we can
yep,
destroy, and we
yep,
can keep things substandard because we are unwilling to do work that we need to do and want people to accept the issues that we have presented in the family as the
yeah.
status quo. And it just is what it is because I'm the man.
Which is just so terrible
Yeah,
that
it
we
is.
that we want to push that type of weight around because I'm the man. That just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
So,
respect me, listen to me. I tell you what to do. You the man, you listen to me. I'm the
right.
man, you listen to me. But
Or that the whole thing of do what I say, don't do what I do.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, what does that mean? But it just shows, and this is going into the next question is how does this plays a big part of the society, the social part of this, right? Those
Hmm.
social expectations. We talked about those stereotypes
Yeah.
about the masculinity impacts.
Mhm.
Uh, but is there some type of willingness there to seek help? So, like when you're, talking with some of those guys, is there a willingness there? And once you give me yours, then I'll tell you what I've experienced. But how do you feel about that? Like, does it feel like you're pulling teeth, or is it like, okay, they feel like they're in a safe environment and guys will open up?
It honestly, it just depends. It is a lot. Once they get to me, once they get in the office, more times than not, they have realized that the whatever it is that got them there meant a lot to them,
Yeah,
and so they are willing to do something. However, I've noticed that some guys will ignore what their role is in their actions when they come into sessions and play and shift the blame, play the blame game.
yeah,
And we always have to go back to, well, what did we do? What happened prior to that? What was your statement that caused that statement? What did
Yeah.
you say? And so picking apart all of those things, looking at how their parents, their father responded to similar situations, what was modeled for them. And it works in my office because I'm able to build the relationship.
Yeah.
We always start with rapport building, relationship building, looking at where they are. I can't take a client here if they are not if they aren't ready for that area. So I
Yeah.
have to stay with where they are. But then there are times where I have to challenge a client because I may see things that they aren't recognizing
Yeah.
and pretty much call that out, and we work from there as well because we can't stay in this rapport building phase where we have an hour to get some things done and we have to get it done and we have to be making progress. So
Right.
but it's always better when they find out that I'm a support for them and work through it from that area because the societal standards is we don't talk to anybody in our
Yeah.
community. We don't
Right.
talk to anybody. We keep our business in our house. I'm a man. I can't be sitting up here in your office because I need to be going to make some money. That's what the problem is. I need
Right.
to take care of my family. So
Right.
they're not realizing that, actually, if we can deal with some of the stuff that is causing the pressure,
Yep.
because we're not going to talk about it to anybody, then you'll be better at making the money and at carrying the family
Yeah.
and lowering the frequencies of the arguments and the walkouts and those things that occur within the healthy households
Yeah.
and unhealthy households because you can have the same things in healthy households, but when you have a better response, you have the fallout is not as in depth. The breadth
Yeah.
and width is not as much
Yeah.
because you've dealt with it in a more proactive way. Still
Yeah.
gonna have disagreements, but we're
Mhm.
not smashing windows and throwing vase and slicing
Right. Right.
tires and stabbing each other and
Right.
police called. So we have all of that going on. But if I can get the men to come in more times than not, their wife or their girlfriend have called and I'm like, I need to hear from him because I need to know that he's ready for this work.
Yeah.
And if
I
he's
agree.
not ready for the work, if he's not going to call, if he's not going to fill out the paperwork, unless he has some deficits with reading and writing, and I'll work with him on that because he may not want her to know that.
Right.
I just need to know what I'm working with. But if it's because you just don't want to, then nah. Because if you come in, you don't really want to be there, we wasting each other's time.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
give you a session or two if you don't want to be there because we have clients that are mandated to come for what court, probation, whatever.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and we can work with that. We know when we have that. The resistance doesn't bother us. Not the, black male therapist facing the black male because we know how to work with that.
Yeah. And like you said about those societal expectations and those stereotypes, I find that those are hindrances to men understanding that part of masculinity is understanding when you need to call for a lifeline.
Yeah.
The strength of a man, to me personally, is a man that knows when he needs somebody to help him out to get
Yes.
over a hump.
Yeah.
Most men in culture feel that, hey, if I ask somebody to help me, I'm useless, I'm a failure,
Right.
I don't fit the masculinity role. And the thing is that it's just the wrong people are telling you about masculinity, to be honest. And like you said, you get them into the office. And I found personally that men actually do want to get stuff off their chest and they want to figure stuff out about their life. Um, they don't want to do it in a public thing. Like women that just go, you can have a conference, man, and women would just come, they'll cry, they'll tell all their business in front of everybody. They don't really care too much about that because they're coming there for a solution. Uh, where men feel like, hey, if I give up this information, now I'm vulnerable to where somebody can use this as a weapon,
Yeah.
right? And so I think that, and I'm sure you've experienced that where you you're working through something and it's that's why I use the term like pulling teeth because it's like you can kind of give it to me. I'm a licensed therapist.
Yeah.
This is what I do. I'm supposed to digest it for you, and then we work through it. But I think that it's just that sometimes we feel like, man, if I give up something deep about me, a secret, then anytime this person has this over me. So it's like if I see you out somewhere, you know something about me that don't nobody else know. And we're programmed to think that people are gonna weaponize information, man. And the thing is that there's some great guys out there that want to team up with you to help you get through some things.
Right.
And that's why I brought you on here because I want my audience to know that, hey, here in metropolitan Detroit, Dre and his team are good. These are great guys who want to help put you in the right position, man. And they're not here to weaponize anything, but they do want to help you understand those societal expectations and stereotypes that's been put on us from a masculinity standpoint.
Right.
So and just that willingness to seek the help, I think one-on-one situations, I think that men are way better than trying to bring in groups of
Yeah.
100 or 200. But uh, hopefully we can get there, man. I think that um, I got a few things that I would like to do in the future that hopefully we can get a little bit more participation from men. Um,
Yeah. And it's possible. It depends on how it's packaged.
yeah,
Even with groups, it depends on how it's packaged to let someone know they may be the ones that don't talk will still feel safe listening. So it's
yeah,
okay for that too. So you
definitely.
have the other approach for it. Everyone doesn't have to share out. You just hear, and then when you realize that 8 out of the 10 brothers go through the same thing that you go through and hear and feel the same things you hear and feel, then
Yep.
you realize, oh wow, how did they do that? How did they handle that? Oh man, I didn't even realize that happened to other people. I didn't even know that men could cry or men could feel, and
Yeah.
not realizing that, yep, we can. Men cry. Men should
Yep.
cry to release that pressure and work through it. We're not sitting up there pouting for 3 hours and
Right.
doing stuff around the house. We're crying, drop a couple of tears, release it, and figure out the plan. The plan of action. What's next? But a lot of people got the misconception that we can't even do that, and we're
Yeah.
stunted in that way. So we can't cry. Then we end up going out fighting. We end up smoking weed. We end up popping pills. We end up drinking. We end up having sex with multiple women, even though we are married or in a committed relationship.
Yep.
And we kind of go there and do all manner of evil. There's also some things that people don't even realize that reckless behavior is a cry for help or the need to release. So all that adrenaline that they rush because the happy feeling, the feel good feeling comes out. I have one brother that's saying he run red lights. He run red lights. He speeds and run red lights. And I said, "Do you understand what could happen as a result?"
Right. The ramifications.
He said, "Yeah." He listened out, and then he got to, of course, I could actually be injured. I could die, but I lived a great life. I said, "Brother, you're 22.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You're 22. There's so much more to live." So I was working with him through that. But there's a lot of risk taking behaviors that provide us comfort and peace because we can't get the feeling or the words out of our mouth.
Yeah.
So we have different things that we do for comfort, but it's not
Yeah.
healthy.
Yeah. That is that is one of the most I guess one of my term is a man with no self-control is a dangerous man. And I mean,
Absolutely.
I didn't make this term up. I've heard it from other podcasts and stuff, men who are in this space where that is a term. It's like, hey, a man that has no self-control is a dangerous man. And so what mental health and strengthening that part of your life helps you have self-control,
Yeah.
which takes me right into the next section. So you gave a lot of strategies that men use from a negative standpoint to release some of that pressure from stress, anxiety, and depression. But what are some effective strategies that men can use to cope with the stress, anxiety, and depression that they deal with daily?
Absolutely, man. It's real good if a lot of men understand that they are able to do some things to help reduce some of the pressure just at the start of the day. Because we're under pressure the moment we walk out the door and it's hitting us left and right. The
Yeah.
moment we actually through our sleep, even. But that's another story. What you can do is pace breathing, meditation, and that just looks like breathing in 8 seconds or so, and blowing breath between your teeth out of your lips for another 10 seconds, 12 seconds, and you're doing that maybe 2 or 3 times, and it's calming the heart rate, it's relaxing your system, your central nervous system is responding to you, and it's starting to relax because when we go out and get out of the bed,
Mhm.
we have life happening.
Mhm.
So starting to work from there. We may not have gotten the best sleep because you, in order for your body to repair and reset, you got to get to the REM stage. And a lot of people aren't getting there. And you really need to be getting 7 hours a night.
Right.
Those are things that you have to do. Grounding mats to help reset your system is also, you can stand on them, you can get a grounding mat pad to lay on the bed. All of these things, same thing that you would do, the things you would get out of walking on the or standing in the grass
Yeah.
from the earth
Yeah.
to help regulate and reset our system. So those are things. Of course, a lot of men work out.
Yeah. That's my
Great.
thing.
Yeah, work on play ball, some golf, whatever it is that you do for activity wise, break your little sweat, raise your I said raise the RPMs like we in a car, but get the heart rate up.
Yeah.
So those things are important because it's helping you to remain healthy and reduce some of the pressures that you face every day.
Yeah.
Um, it may be drawing, it may be doing spoken word, it may be just walking. You may not be able to get to the point where you jog, but walk, or if you run, that's always important. Making sure that you take some time to get those activities in will also help. But music, if you can't necessarily get around, sunshine, the summer, spring is coming, sun is
Yep.
staying out longer. Those are great ways to kind of reset and get healthy energies back in us. If we're vitamin D deficient, make sure you get the vitamin D up. So those are different things that we can do that will not harm us, will only help us. I
Yeah.
guess anything you do in excess can be harmful though. So
Yeah.
you got to have a healthy balance of everything. Because
Yeah.
you can't go to the gym 6 hours a day. I'm even concerned if you're there
Right.
3 hours, but
Right.
there may be those moments,
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely agree. You can't overdo anything, and then that becomes a hindrance or harmful to you. Um, but I like to work out and then I play golf. Those are my two thing. I posed a question out on TikTok to some guys, and just to get their response, I was like, what do you guys do to relieve that stress, the anxiety, depression, or whatever may be afflicting you just on a daily basis, man? And these guys came back with some really good things. I mean, guys were like, I like to sit on my patio. What do you say? Sit on my patio and take a drink and smoke a cigar. And I don't smoke and I don't drink or anything. But he found something that actually relaxes him. And we had and I kind of went back and forth on some different things that you can do. Because even with drinking, it's still a added stressor, because it throws off things in you, which is another coping mechanism, right? You
yeah,
drink and then it copes to make you feel better. And he was just like, "Well, I kind of understand what you're saying," and I'm like, "Yes." So just kind of be careful that thinking that, "Oh, I drink and or I do this." I'm like, drinking and alcohol and drugs are and will always be coping mechanisms for pain.
yeah.
I don't care
Escape,
what any I don't
void,
care. Yes, some type of void that you have in you, and we use these 2 things, and it's been used for decades to cope with
right,
something that's going on with you or something that you are without,
right,
and it numbs you
right.
so that you can actually get through the day. So we wanna kinda stay away even from things that are deemed to be socially that they are de-stressing you, but understand that even some of those are coping mechanisms, by the definition of
Yeah,
alcoholism
yeah. Just
and drugs.
unhealthy
Yeah,
coconut.
they're unhealthy, and I mean, I know some people do it, and I'm sure when I post this out, people, will, have a, conversation around that, and hey, please bring that conversation to me
Yeah,
because,
because
um go ahead, what you got?
yeah, because you're the things that I've gotten, and um, I think better when I drink. I drive better when I drink or when I'm high.
Right.
I can have conversations that I can't have, the courageous conversations that we should be having sober. We'll
Yeah,
have them. We have so there's this false sense of
yeah,
support and encouragement through this unhealthy means.
yes,
And that's why it's embraced easily because I can be a little calmer and I can handle certain things. But again, there are a lot of people that don't know where that cutoff is. Yeah,
right,
it caused you to think, but then when you thought, what were you thinking of? And then
right,
you got upset because whatever it was that was bothering you that you was avoiding has now been magnified in your mind, and you aren't able to have a rational conversation.
yep,
So you attack through your speech or text the person or persons that you have an issue with,
yep,
and you can't even remember the next day what you did, even
right,
if it can mean even putting your hands on that person
yep,
because you got so angry, like their response.
yep, yep, I agree, and when we're talking about that support, so I kinda started off by just talking about, supporting my son, making sure from a mental standpoint that he could be healthy, but then not just, send him a text, "Hey, son, are you good?" Or, "Hey, you're better than that, you're stronger than I built you this certain but really giving them the type of support that is needed. Now
Yeah,
I call my son basically almost every day. This
it's
dude's
not
been
good.
away for college for 2 years, and there's no day that I don't go without saying something to him. "What up, son? How you doing? I love you." I definitely say I love you, to him every day.
It's,
But I try my best to talk to or give him some means of me every day,
yeah.
because he's accustomed to that growing up in this house.
Mm-hmm.
And what I didn't want him to think was going away to school means separation from the touch or
Right,
the words of your parents, right? And
right.
so me, my wife, and me and my daughter are gonna call him because they're him and her brother are best friends. But
That's nice.
but me and my wife, we made it a conscious effort to make sure that we speak to him every day. And it's been monumental because he's like, man, I'm glad you called today, Dad. Man, today was a tough day. I almost had a meltdown today. And it's like, but he know that, hey, even if he can feel it coming on, it's like, well, my dad's gonna hit me up soon, right? And then I'll be able to have this release. Or my mom is gonna hit me up soon. I'll have this release. And it's been great. And that's not just me talking, that's coming from him. Which I will have him on this show. When he gets home this summer, he told me he'll come on the show and talk about our relationship, and,
Nice.
and what it means to him. And because I can tell you all the great stuff, right? But I'm biased because every father think he's the best. So I told him it would be great, uh, but I just kind of want to use that as a term because a lot of people are lacking that. So kind of give us some. You got family members out here that struggle with, do I let them grow up? Do I let hey, they got mental issues, or they strung out over here on this, or they can't
Mm-hmm.
handle life. I'm not gonna bother them. Out of sight, out of mind.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's a good idea, but you, as a professional, give the family members and those friends, give them the best way to be able to support, um, the friends that they have in their life.
Yeah, that's a
That
great
may
way.
be having those type of challenge, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. That's excellent, man. And you gave a great example of one way to do that. Being a person that you want to reach out to them in a way that you aren't enabling them or doing too much for them,
That's
but you're
good.
giving them messaging like, I love you, I support you, I'm here for you. How are things going? Just having regular conversation
Yeah.
without judgment. They
Yeah.
already know they have issues, they already know they have stuff going on. But can you talk to me like a person? Can
Right.
you just show me that I'm human? Through
Yeah.
regular conversation. And if there is a point where you would like to offer assistance, ask if they would like support in a certain area, or
Yeah.
how you can support them, or how you need to be there, show up for them using wisdom, because you're not necessarily wanting to give up money for a person that may be addicted to a certain substance.
Right.
Not saying you can't give them any money, just being mindful of how much and what you're doing.
Yeah.
Um, but not putting your value on them, stating that, well, they can't, they shouldn't, and they're just not going to be whatever because they're doing these things.
Right.
It's something that has to be carefully worked through, where you are providing support and not doing for them what they should be and can be doing for themselves,
Yeah.
but helping them get the assistance or resources, if that's something that they need, will be fine, and helping to allow them to say yes or no, because they have to want to.
Right. I
If
agree.
they don't want to, it's not going to work. And so um, there's things that you can experience in a household that may mess up the household, because I had an uncle who lived with us who was addicted to, in the crack era, crack cocaine,
Hmm.
and everyone wanted him to kick the habit and wanted to tell him what he needed to do and wanted to take him away. His sister wanted to take him to Boston. Everybody was trying, but he did not feel like he had a problem. In his words to me, I can stop whenever I want to.
Yeah.
And so he didn't recognize it as an addiction that he was powerless over. So nothing that anybody tried, they just alienated him and made him upset. So they
Yeah.
have to really want to. You just have to be mindful of what it is you can, like, do in a healthy way,
Yeah.
so that they are there and showing love. Love is what leads. Love, not your feelings and emotions behind it. Sticking to the facts of things is very important.
I agree.
And just, you know, being there neutral, but letting them know who you are in their life. And
Yeah.
they'll identify if they agree. Because just because you feel like you are support for me, I
Yeah.
may not feel like that.
Yeah. And me being a Christian, um, God's word basically just tells you that love should cover a multitude of sin. Like, and I use the word
Shit.
should. The Bible said it does. I'm saying
Right.
from human nature
The
that
problem is we don't know what love is.
right,
So that's why it doesn't work too well. We
we
haven't.
feel like finger pointing
Yeah.
and
I
just
love you. That's why I'm yelling and
yeah,
browbeating
right,
and making you feel like crap, because I
right,
love you.
because I love you, and we think that that is showing love, and to me, um, and I think you really learn a lot of this stuff, man. When you get these kids, man, this is where it's at, right? People look at the spouse, and it's like it's so much stuff around spouse and why husbands, why, but I think these kids is where that unconditional love is set.
Yeah.
Most husband and wives don't have to grow into unconditional love. The kid comes in this world with your unconditional love day one. Like it ain't it's no you don't build up into unconditional love for your child. Day one, you have it. And so when I look at that, I think, okay, so overall, the totality of that, what is that? So it's just walking alongside of them. So the longer I walk alongside of my kids, that love is just shown. Um, I've been a strong component of building a relationship, friendship as a parent. So a relationship and the friendship, and I'm a parent you. Now that balance is on me. And I told both of my kids that I was like,
Right.
hey, for these three things to work in tandem, dad has to balance them.
Yeah.
I have to make sure that you understand I'm the parent, that this is a time of us building relationship. And this small window over here is friendship. Now, most of the time people be like, you're not your kids' friends, you're not this, you're not that. And I was like, well, I agree to a certain extent, is that you still have to build some layers of friendship along the way because who does people what if if you have an issue in your life, who will you go tell?
Right.
A friend. Like
Hmm.
most of the time, people go tell their best friend, and then the parents normally find out later
After the
about it.
fact.
So when we're looking at family members and friends supporting the mental health, if you do have somebody that has a mental health issue and you're like, "Oh my god, I didn't know that this was going on in your life," and it's like, eh, check your friendship.
Yeah. So, or even deeper, your relationship, period.
Yeah.
So, so we had this panel discussion, and that question came up at church, and my pastor said, "Well, I'll put it like this, because a lot of people say I'm not my kid's friend." So
Yeah.
he said, "I'm I'm the parent, and I don't want the roles to be shifted or switched, or them to feel like that is confusion there, but I am definitely friendly with my kids. And through that relationship
Yes.
that's built, that understanding of support and encouragement and uplifting is there. And so you also have the same level of chastisement and redirection has to come as well.
Yes. And I think that's why I said it's most parents just go, "I
Yeah.
I'm a parent, and you do what
Hmm.
I tell you to do." Well, that's kinda lazy. That
Right.
because what that does is it takes away the ability for the full support that's needed, right? It takes away
Right.
from you teaching your kids about this balance because this helps with mental health.
It
Like,
helps with mental health big time.
but believe it or not, this is where those challenges of mental health start because kids feel like they can't talk to you as a parent.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, what happened? Isolation is hitting, right? So the
Mhm.
longer that goes on, the more isolated they feel.
Right.
I can never tell my parents this. I can never tell my parents this. I can never, and then eventually they don't tell you anything. Now
Exactly.
you're finding out everything at the last minute. Oh
Yeah.
no, he's in jail. I didn't
So
even know that he did A, B, and C. Well, because
yeah.
sometimes you're not like your pastor said, it's this friendly piece
Mhm.
that has to be put in place. And I was talking to my mom, and she was like, "Well, explain to me what does that mean?" And I told my mom, I said, "I'm gonna give you a prime example. Every Friday night in our house when we lived with my mom when we were younger, it was pizza and movie night, and we would do comedy shows and play games and all this stuff, right? But this was every single Friday. We did not miss one Friday."
That's good.
So all this time, my mom is building this. This is friendship. This is friendly. This is all friendship relationship building. My mom is sitting there. She's getting to know each one of us individually.
Yeah.
She's getting to laugh with us. She gets to talk with us. When this is not parenting. She's not get up and go clean up. No, we would all clean up together. But listen, and we wanted to because we didn't wanna stop the friendship part. We didn't wanna stop the laughing. So my mom would just be like, "Hey, y'all could keep goofing around and stuff, but just pick up everything, take it in the kitchen, and come on back in here." And we did this do it for years. And so I just told my mom, I was like, "You may not have known it then, and I really didn't know it not until like I said, you have your own family, then you start seeing, man, you can build friendship, not be your kid's friend, but you can build friendship with your kids so that they'll talk to you.
Yeah. Definitely want them to talk to you.
Yeah. So when I look at looking at effective strategies
Hmm.
for men coping, when you take it all the way back to being a kid, it's oh no, I broke a piece of glass, I broke the window, and you're blowing up
That
like
response
a
right
response
there to those situations help shape
shape
the future.
that
How they're going to show up, how they're going to respond
I-
to, or how they're going to interact with you is based on how you respond to them when things go array and go different and they
yes.
make a mistake. Do you blow up and shut them down and go off and start yelling and screaming?
Yep.
And that is one statement that sticks with me when I just was doing a male mentoring program, and one of the brothers was when they were high school. I was staff member that started the program. And he said, "Well, what do you do when you are the only person you can talk to is available from 7 to 3? After that, you're stuck." And I said, "Wow."
Yeah.
He said, "Because my mom goes in the moment she gets home, and I go to my room, and we don't talk until it's time to bring me to school the next day."
Yeah.
So I avoid her because everything is a problem. She yells and screams about everything.
Yeah.
Now, what happens when you don't have a healed man that does those things, and
Exactly.
he yells and goes off and whoops and fights and
Yep.
all of this? Because it's not because he's really angry.
Right.
That's the secondary emotion. He
Right.
doesn't realize that he can be um, upset because he didn't feel heard, and he felt that there was a disregard, or
Yep.
he feel like he was substandard in an area
Yep.
and something failed, but I'm gonna make everybody else pay for that
Yep.
because we don't know how to acknowledge, one, our true feelings and emotions, and
Yep.
two, how to verbalize or work through disappointments that we have, and we it may be our own fault, but
Yep.
we can't own that, so everyone else pays out of my anger.
Yep. That goes like right into the next question, which is just what are specific warning signs or symptoms? And like, right. I mean, this conversation is going great. It's like literally, it's like I want to ask the question, but we're like leaning in, and it's because there's a cycle here, man. There's literally a perpetual cycle that hinders men and women. Uh, Today, we're talking, majority about men, um, and having the mental health that it takes to keep themselves sane, to keep themselves with self-control and to be able to process. Um, like we're talking, it's like, what's a warning sign, man? It's like I'm yelling over here about the apple, but it's really about 4 days ago about the piece of paper that I saw my name on that I didn't that you didn't ask anybody why your name was there, but you just saw your name on there and saw something. And so, like you said, you don't even know how to have conversations around stuff. But all I know is that it's all about peeling back all of these layers. And I know it's like so wimpy. And I'm sure guys are gonna be like, yeah, we're always talking about these layers and men ought to get in touch with their sensitive side. And I'm not telling you to get in touch with your sensitive side. What I'm saying is that you need to have an awareness and you also need to be honest with yourself, myself,
Yeah,
that that we were built a certain type of way out of the environment that we came out of.
right.
I tell parents all the time, my kid did A, B, and C, and I know how I raised them and all of this. And I was like, well, let me just tell you this. Your kid is with you more than they're with anyone else.
Yeah,
So just to say that out of the blue, A, B, and C that they chose to do A, B, and C, that it doesn't stem from the environment in which they were brought up in. Now we use that case for anything else, right? Urban kids, he sell dope because he was in an area that sold dope. That's a cause and effect because basically that's a environment that he grew up in, so that's all he knows. But if you start talking about kids turning out a certain way under the leadership of parents, then it's like, no, they chose to do that. And I'm telling you that they chose it, but out of what and what was perpetually put in them every day to make them say that this is a choice I want to go to. And listen, that doesn't mean that we're bad parents because you could do a lot of great things
and they still.
because what it is that sometimes you do all this stuff and kids just don't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So now we roll back to the friendly part. Are you taking time to sit down and talk about our parents didn't do that back in the day, man. I
No,
told my
oh,
mom, I was like, I said, all you told us to do is shut up.
shut up.
Sit
You don't even have, you don't
you
have
know,
any, you don't have a voice.
you know,
You think what I tell you to think. You
eh, she
you
was
don't
like,
have nerves, you have nothing. Nothing's bothering you.
Yeah,
You
my
know,
mom was like, "Was I that bad?" I was like, "Ma, we if we said something, we would start ducking because you would be busting somebody up." It'd be like, "I know you ain't speaking." It's like, "Well, I just had a question." It's like, "You don't have no question? I'll tell
yeah,
you when to ask a question." You're like,
exactly.
"What?" But this is what at our age, this is what we were brought out of, man, and then you're trying to now raise kids. So you don't even really know how to interact relationally.
Man. Because where did you learn it? Where did you get those tips, and where did you
Yeah,
get those skills from? So before I answer that one question you asked, I'll go back to that part because if you have a healthier response from a child that grows into an adult who can dialogue if we allow the space for kids to respond. We
right,
just teach them how to say it in a respectful way and navigate what respects look like if it should have been said if it should have been said differently and they don't
right,
help them with the words to shape. But
right,
problem is we don't even know. So
right,
therefore it's a
right.
struggle. But if we do see, we may have a partner that has that skill and we don't,
Yep,
honor that skill, look at that skill, respect that skill, listen to that, listen
yep,
to the responses. You may never be able to do it, but you can hear it when it's done.
yep,
And you may be able to allow your child to say something that you would have never really wanted them to say because we were taught to just be mute.
yep.
Kids are to be seen and not heard,
I've heard, yep.
and that's it. And you do not, you are never to get into adult conversation,
Yep,
even if you were missed by being in the room.
yep.
You need to continue to be like a statue and don't breathe too hard.
Be
Because if
right.
you're supposed to excuse yourself,
You're supposed to excuse
if
yourself.
I'm missing and my parents didn't know or my the adults didn't know we were in the room,
Yeah,
I made that mistake once.
yeah, but I know,
Never
me
had
too.
that problem again,
Never again.
ever.
My
Because
mom was
we
like,
can
yeah, it
you
was
ain't
tough.
supposed to be in here, boy. Get out of here.
Get
You
out
know
of
better than be in adult conversation.
yeah, and the thing is that it's not even really wanting to be a part of that conversation, but I think that sometimes I think that kids need to actually still be able to see how do you work through situations. It's not necessarily me trying to figure out, and 9 times out of 10, they're telling you to get out because sometimes it was just a bunch of gossip anyway, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
because if it was something that was has some substance to it, you don't mind them listening to,
right.
like if me and my wife are disagree with something,
Hmm.
and if our kids are like sitting right there, we'll work it out right there in front of them.
And it shows
Yeah.
how to do it.
How
Them
how
skills.
yes, it teaches my daughter as a woman, what do you do? And then my son watches and sees what I do. And it's
Hmm.
like, oh, okay. So basically a man doesn't bow down to a woman. That's stupid. That's
Hmm.
that's stupid. And that's just a cop out and it's lazy.
Yeah,
It's lazy for both parties to do
yeah,
that. But we're looking at these symptoms. We're looking
yeah,
at these warning signs of men who might be struggling with mental health. And
yeah,
we're just pointing out some things that in their life as a totality that or overall that they basically could have had one of these things happen in the teenage years, the young 20s or the young 30s happen that is now showing its or rearing its ugly head here, right? And so my thing is that if you start seeing these symptoms, um, this is when Dre comes in play. Now, we feel like, hey, a therapist, man, I'm a loser. And the thing is that Dre's job, and I'm talking to all of us,
yeah.
is that he's going to help us put that stuff in order.
Right.
So it's in chaos in your mind, and he's going to take all of that chaos and organize it for us and
Yeah.
put some structure around it and then start formulating a plan and a process on
Mhm.
being able to get through it, communicate through it, process through it. And so that is what a therapist team would do for us as men. So we can't look at it as a failure or something that makes us weak. We got to look at it and say, okay, I got all this noise. I'm going to give it to you, bro.
Mhm.
Process it.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you if it's wrong or not. I'll tell
Right.
you if you got it wrong, but the thing is that have somebody help you walk. through things, especially when those symptoms come up early. Not being able to get like, guys, I don't communicate right. That's not. This is not a good thing. That I don't communicate. Men and women don't communicate the same. Well, we kind of know that already, but that doesn't mean that we don't communicate, right? So,
And we have to get to effective communication, because there's a lot of people that communicate. When I threw that vase at you, when I hit you, I'm communicating with you,
right, that
you
you're in my
know.
way.
And there's a lot of what we would call stress responses.
Yep.
So those are the things that would be warning signs. If you have personalities that are around you that can't have a simple conversation, two or three exchanges without blowing up or getting upset,
Yeah.
or if you can't have a conversation with someone where they can't just chill at home without having a mood and mind altering substance.
Yeah. I agree.
That's something. You know,
Yeah.
it's one thing to have a glass of wine, have a shot, or have a drink, or maybe even two, and relax, and everyone have a healthy conversation. The environment is chilled, and nobody's being harmed mentally. Nobody is being ignored when you should be communicating.
Yeah.
Nobody's being yelled at when it should be talked to, and nobody's being hit. These are different things that come out. So those are signs. A person that is always alone,
Yeah.
doesn't have friends,
That's
can't
a good
build
one.
friendships, and when they do, is never the ones that are healthy,
Yeah.
or the
It's
ones
always
that
their
are
fault.
uplifting. Right, the ones that support all of the good and safe things that we could do in
Right.
society without going to jail or someone dying.
Yeah.
Um, People that can't communicate without violent tendencies, aggression in their voice. Those are all signs. Individuals that go out multiple times a week,
Yeah.
and you have a family. What's going
Right.
on? But
Right.
you're avoiding something. Something's not
Right.
sitting right. You
Right.
have individuals that choose violence whenever ignoring or passive response or any other thing can be um, chosen.
Yeah.
They go to the extreme,
Yeah.
always make a mountain out of a molehill.
Yeah.
Those individuals that can't hold a job,
Yeah.
multiple jobs, say something. Look
Yeah.
at your resume. You have a different job every year or every 6 months.
Yep.
Something's going on, and it's not always the people.
Right.
It just can't be. Then
Right.
you have those individuals that would like to justify things because of their response, and you should just accept it and take it. Or you don't have a individual that can handle diverse conversations or rebuttals or anything without having major issues. So it's a lot of things called cognitive distortions that fit in there, and their stress responses because they're safe. That's
Yeah.
my safety mechanism, so that you don't get to my heart.
Right.
You the last time I opened up, it was an issue, or I don't know how to open up, and this gets uncomfortable, and you are at a point where I'm at my limit, but you won't stop.
Yeah.
So I'm going to explode.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything that comes to me where I have to think and take ownership, I may deflect, shift blame, make it seem like it's your fault. Or if you do bring something in, I know that I did that and I was wrong, but I'm going to bring up what you did. I can't even own what I did. I just got to bring up what you did and the string of things that you did that I didn't like, but I
Yeah.
didn't bring it up at the time. I didn't even bring it up when it was appropriate. I brought it up when you had an issue.
Yeah.
Those are all signs.
Yeah. And the thing is that um uh, a good friend would never sidestep those warning signs. So when you consider yourself being friends, best friends, you'll get right on in there, and you should be able to talk and speak your truth to your friend without being, looked at as someone who's judging them. uh,
Mhm.
because that comes with that relationship that was built from in the first place. But a lot of that stuff you're talking about, that stuff is just like from the trauma.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
our time is getting away from us, but and I do ask that you come back on because I really want to talk about the trauma. Like, if we start talking about it now, it'll be a 2 hour episode. But so we're gonna pin it right here.
Yes, sir.
And then when you got some more free time, man, come back on
Please.
and really just help us understand the effects of that trauma, because you talked about the violence. We talked about, the abuse of in the childhood. We talked about a few of those things, but I really want to dive into that space of the trauma, because you can be stamped at 13 with trauma, and you could be 60 and still operate at 13 from that trauma.
You
And I'm
got
gonna leave it
me.
right there. Don't you say nothing, Drake, because we'll start talking back. I'm,
I was going there too. I got you.
I'm leaving it there, but that's where I want us to get in. So we're gonna uh close this out. I just got one thing I want to tell you guys out there. Listen, uh therapy is not for failures. Therapy is not for losers. Therapy is not for people who have lost um, their ability to think for themselves. That's not what therapy is for. Like I said, therapy is for you to take the chaos in your mind, give it to someone who's educated, who has special skills to be able to help you formulate a plan, organize your thoughts, and then provide excellent processes and steps to be able to figure out those traumas, figure out those hurts, and then work through each one of them. And it sometimes it's personal. It's a one-on-one session. Sometimes you may have to bring in some of the parts that help with the trauma. So you might have to bring in a parent. You might have to bring in a brother. You might have to bring in a cousin. But the one thing I will tell you is that a therapist, Dre, his team, and I can vouch for them because I've been really connecting with Dre over the last few months here, and really talking with him about this area. And so I'm very happy that he came on. And like I said, next time I have him on, we're going to dive into the trauma. So if you hear pieces of this, whether it's on TikTok, um, Instagram, Facebook, please put comments in there. I'll definitely send them up over to Dre.
Please do.
And we'll definitely bring some of those comments that may or thoughts that you may have back to our next episode that we have. Discuss a couple of those before we jump into the new topic of trauma. But don't be afraid to put those in. Some thoughts on in the comment section, because we would love to hear what you're thinking, fellas. We're all in this together. We want to help each other be better. um, I went and got a specialist to help us. So this ain't just me, trying to be a jack of all trades. I do mentor men, but I do know uh, uh, that my strength is in understanding when I need to call in an expert to
Right.
help me finish and put the icing on the cake. And so, Dre, once again, man, I appreciate you. You got any closing words you want to say to the fellas?
Yes, absolutely, man. Understanding that therapy is a place for you. It's non-judgmental. It is safe. It's confidential. It's your space. It's shaped how you would like it to be. If you just need a spot for somebody to talk and get some things out and then move from there, it can be done. So don't think that there's somebody about to just tell you what to do and all of that. I don't need nobody to tell me. It's a support designed just for what you may need. Um, and if you don't mind, I can just share the mental health conference.
Oh,
That's
please do. I was gonna ask if you
yeah,
how can the people get in contact with you, or where they can follow you at, and then what events you have coming up?
absolutely. I can be found affecting change Charlie on Instagram
Mhm.
and TikTok and also YouTube. I just want to encourage every man of color come out. Wayne State University is going to be the main event, but I'm doing a 2-day event, July 12th, the evening welcome reception for everyone to come in and just kind of get a relaxed dinner, have some activities, events. Got a spoken word, got a couple more guys, some music, and those types of things. But Saturday, the main event, Wayne State University, 9 to 5. It's very
Mhm.
important that I provide a space for us to be able to talk about all of these things and
Yeah.
its manifests, exploring the identity, the struggle, and the power of men of color. And we're coming from a mental health perspective and how everything that happens is every 24 hours we all deal with mental health. So it doesn't have to be that you need medicine and all of that.
Yep.
We're actually all accountable for our mental health. And I just want to be a place and I want everyone to come out, and you can also find that um, the tab for tickets and all of that at affecting-change.com.
Yep. And then what I'll do to everyone is that I'll add those links. Um, will be right in the bottom, so you'll be able to just go right down at the bottom, check them all out. I have the links to where you can find them, so from a social media standpoint, and then also for the event that he's speaking of. Um, I told you already, Dre. If I'm my calendar is clear, I've already planned that I'm want to come out and support, because I think it's very important that that you don't have mental health issues right now, but I think that the supporting of of each other is very important. And I was talking to my wife, and I said this year I wanted to make it my business to make sure that I do more supporting this year. And so I want to be able to sometimes clear my calendar, man, to support, because I think we all need it. Sometimes it's good to look out there and see some people who you do work
Mhm.
and do business with, just to come and check you out and see what you're doing in your personal space.
Yeah,
And I just think I think it means a lot. To both parties, but I really just think that we have to do that for one another. So, in closing, hey, I'm glad you guys came, you know, linked up with us on this great topic. Like I said, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Uh, I'm gonna be diving in all month. You're gonna see me on TikTok, Instagram. You might see me and Dre just do a pop up and talk about something.
that's right.
But I really want to just dive into it deep this month and really just show our support that we're here for you guys, fellas, and that we want to be a support and want to be able to provide some type of information, man, that will help you guys along. And today was just breaking the silence, men's mental health in the spotlight. That was the topic on today. And so that's what we want to do is first start off by breaking that silence. And like I said, the next time you guys hear us, we're gonna be talking about the trauma.
Yes,
And
sir.
oh boy, trauma is out cold. So you guys have a good evening, and I appreciate it, Dre. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Yep. Peace out.
Peace.